Hello and welcome. Um, this video is dedicated to your second midterm, and it's just going to be a simple video on tracing with loops, with some loops here, and simple operation with a list. Um, Before I start, I will kindly ask for those of you who are in CSEOA to pause this video and trace this part of the code on your own, just this part of the code on your own, and see how you do. And you can watch this video and compare the way we trace, and if you can learn something, or if you don't like it, it's okay. Um, and after you've done tracing, you can just go to the end of this video to check the solution to this problem, or to find out what it prints actually, or you can type it up yourself. But let's pause right now. Pause. Okay, so I've assumed that some of you have paused, which is good. So let's look at this function. I'm pretending that I'm a student in CSE 08, and this happens to be on my second midterm. And the first thing I would do is actually not to start, on my paper yet, but to look at what this chunk of code do. Get an intuitive idea of what it does. Okay, so I see that there's a list here, and there's a counter of a count, and there's a counter for my while loop. I see that there is a string. Oh, okay, I see there's a for loop inside of my while loop, and if I look inside the for loop, I see there's an if statement inside of my for loop. So I know in the back of my mind I need to keep track of three things: while loop, for loop, and if statement. With practice, you actually can see that this while loop goes exactly 5 times. And this for loop goes exactly 5 times. So in total, 5 times 5, this if statement will run 25 times, right? But I know that I won't have 25 lines of these because this sometimes is probably true. But I know that if I have more than 25 lines here, something went wrong. Okay, cool. I have these things, so let's get started. My list is equal to A, B, C, D, E, so I'm putting it here. And these are just symbols that tells me what they are, what the location. So these are the location, right? So this is the 0th index, which is A. And this is, just pretend that this is ID 0, ID 1, ID 2. This gives me the memory location of this character A. Right? A, B, C, D is a lot easier for me to write on a computer, so I'm going to use this instead of ID 0 and whatnot. And hopefully you guys can still recognize what I'm doing. So let's get started. I see my list is here. Okay, what I did, my count is equal to 0. So I should probably use a variable, f, and f is equal to 0. But as computer scientists, this is ironic, something I would like to do is simplify my problem during the midterm, right? I want to save some time. And I know that this count is sort of like a counter inside of my while loop. So the counter behaves quite nicely, and it just goes up by 1 every single time, in this function at least. So I'm just going to put this here, actually. This will save me a lot of time, actually, looking up and down. By just putting it here, this will help me a lot. And, okay, I have res here. Res is a string. A string, I'll say, is G. And string doesn't behave very nicely. It can change. It changes a lot. And a lot of things can happen with a string. So I'm actually going to locate G here. Okay, so this variable points to G, and G is the memory location, the string, empty string. Now I'm on this line. I should have checked, first of all, this line, right? But I knew that 0 is less than 5, and that's why I came into this while loop. So in this for loop, this line here, this is the declaration of a for loop, and my variable is I. And since I is an index, I'm going to treat it the same way as I treat a count, and just set it to 0 at the beginning. And I know that this is a for loop from 0 to 5 and increments by 1. If I don't say the increment, then default this increments by 1. So I can rewrite this function like this. I know you can do this on the midterm, but I'm going to put this here just to be a little bit sure for those of you who doesn't remember that you can put a increment here, right? This could have been 2, but without any declaration, this goes into default, which is equal to 1. Okay, I like to put this here just to remind myself the values that my I can take, which from 0 to 5, it'll take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and not 5 because the loop stops at 5. Okay? I go to here on my 6th line and I check this Boolean condition. I, which is 0, if I, 0, is less than or equal to count 0, right, I is here, count is here. If 0 is less than or equal to 0, oh, that's true, I'm going to go to this line. Res is a string, plus equals is an operation, and for strings, plus here is concatenate. I'm concatenating something. Okay, I'm concatenating my list, right? And this is a square bracket, so it's my list at position count. And count happens to be 0. So at position 0, I have the character A. I'm just going to put this here just to remind myself. Here, I don't care about this because I'm already in this part of the if statement. Now I go to here, and I don't touch this line just yet because I'm still in my for loop, right? Go here, back up to I. Oh wait, I forgot to do something. I forgot to concatenate. I said that this is A, so my res, after concatenating A, resolves into A. Sorry about that. So this goes to A, and then I can exit the for loop, not exit, sorry, go to the for loop and go to and increment my I to 1. So when I is equal to 1, is this still less or equal to count? Oh, this is not true anymore. I'm going to this part of the if statement and concatenate plus to the end of my string res, which is G, which is A. I want to do this. And actually, this resolves into this. And after doing this, I want to print what res is. So here, my first line is A plus, which is, kind of good luck for your midterm. Now, finish after this line, go back to my for loop, increment my index by 1 again, and I check again this if statement. 2 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, I think that's true. Yeah, that's definitely not true. It's definitely not true. 2 is not less or equal to 0. So be careful when you're doing this. So res plus equal to plus equals plus. So meaning I'm concatenating another plus sign at the end of my string res, and I'm going to print res again, R8 plus plus. So here, the one thing I would like to notice is that, okay, I've seen a pattern. There's some sort of pattern. And I know one thing, actually. There's something very interesting. And this thing is that this counter count is constant with respect to my for loop. Okay, it's a constant. It changes outside of it, but it doesn't change inside. And I always, every time I go through this for loop, I'm checking this if condition. And since my count is a constant, once my I is bigger than it, it will always be bigger than it, right? Because my for loop increments up by 1, so it's increasing by 1 every single time. So when this is equal to 2 and it's bigger, then when I is equal to 3, it is bigger than 2, but then obviously it is bigger than my count, right? So when this is equal to 3, here, all I have to do is remember the logic, which is when this can only be satisfied when I is equal to count or less than count. And after I managed to increment I big enough when this condition is not true, this condition will never be true ever again. So I'm always going to be performing this part of the if statement. And when this I equal to 3, I'll go to here, put a plus sign, and print it out. And when it's 4, it's still bigger than my count, right? I'm still comparing here, but I realize that count is constant and never changes. So I will be equal to 4, which is still bigger than 0. And I'm going to do this part, do this again, which is concatenate a plus sign and print it out. And when it equals to 4, my for loop finally finishes. And my count goes up by 1. Count is here, plus 1, which is resolved to 1. Now I go up here, check. Is 1 still less than 5? Of course. And here, I have to be careful here. This statement at line 4 sets my G, or my res, which points to G, to the string and set it equal to an empty string.